In a small town next to a quiet forest lived a girl named Alara. Her heart was as pure as white snow. She was very gentle and always smiling. Everyone who truly knew Alara thought she was like an angel. She spent her days helping her grandmother bake, taking care of lost animals, and reading to the children by the river. Her kindness was endless, and she trusted people easily, always believing the best in them. But the world was not kind back to Alara. Her endless goodness made some people jealous and suspicious. They thought she was just pretending to be good, or that she was hiding something bad behind her bright smile. One sunny day, some children decided to play a mean trick on Alara. They led her deep into the forest, acting like they were lost and very scared. Alara comforted them and promised to find the way out. But when the sun began to set and the shadows grew long, the children quickly ran away, leaving her alone in the dark woods. They laughed as they ran, thinking she would be afraid and cry. But Alara did not panic. She simply sat down on a fallen log, took out a small book she always carried, and waited for the moon to come out and guide her way. The next morning, she walked out of the forest, looking calm and happy. She even carried a basket she had woven from thin branches, full of wild berries she had picked. The children saw her unharmed and cheerful, and felt a little ashamed, but they were too proud to say sorry to her. This small act of meanness was just the beginning. As Alara grew older, the betrayals became bigger and more hurtful. There was a big party called the Harvest Festival, a time for everyone to celebrate. Alara worked very hard to make the town square beautiful. She hung colorful flowers everywhere and wove ribbon patterns. She also baked a special honey cake, hoping to share its sweetness with the whole town. However, a group of young women who were jealous of the praise and attention Alara always received decided to ruin her work. At night, under the cover of darkness, they tore down her flower decorations, messed up all the ribbons, and worst of all, they secretly took Alara's delicious honey cake and replaced it with a burnt, bad-tasting one. The next morning, the villagers were shocked to see the mess. Whispers filled the air, and soon everyone started looking at Alara. Who else could do such a thing? One woman whispered loudly. She just wants to look better than us. Maybe her sweetness is just a way to hide her jealousy of others. Alara was heartbroken and tried to explain that she was innocent, but her voice was too quiet against the noise of the rising suspicion. Tears fell silently from her eyes as she watched the people turn away from her, their faces full of disapproval. Yet, even in her sadness, she did not point fingers or accuse anyone. She just started working again, fixing the decorations with her gentle hands until the square looked even more beautiful than before, a silent sign of her strong spirit. The unfairness kept happening. There was the time she spent many weeks knitting warm woolen scarves and mittens for the poor children in the town nearby. She packed them neatly in a basket, ready to travel and give them as gifts. But a grumpy merchant who was also jealous of Alara's kindness saw her good deed as a way to make him look bad. He thought she was trying to show that she was more generous than him. So, he quickly swapped her knitted gifts with a basket of old, dirty rags. He then, accidentally, dropped a piece of paper with Alara's name on it next to the discarded goods. When Alara arrived at the children's home, the kind lady who ran it was very upset by the worthless offering. When she saw Alara's name, she sadly concluded that the good girl everyone talked about was a fraud, only pretending to be nice. Ilara, confused and disappointed, could only apologize. She could not understand why people were so unkind. She stayed the whole day, helping the lady mend the children's existing clothes, her nimble fingers working hard to undo the damage caused by another person's spite. Then came the worst lie of all, a plan made by the village leader's nephew, a young man named Theron. Theron hated that Alara was loved and respected by the people, even with all the suspicion. He saw her as an obstacle to his own ambitions. He thought that if he could ruin her name forever, he would become the most respected person in the village. He came up with a plan to frame Alara for stealing the village's precious wooden bird, a small carved charm believed to bring good luck. Theron secretly hid the small wooden bird in Alara's simple house, tucking it under a loose floorboard. Then, acting very worried, he announced to the whole village that the relic was missing. A quick search began, and Theron, pretending to help, slowly led the search party straight toward Ilara's home. The villagers, who already doubted Alara's perfect goodness, followed him easily. When the wooden bird was found in her house, a loud gasp went through the crowd. Alara cried and denied it, but the people only looked at her with distrust and anger. "An angel, you say?" One villager sneered. "More like a wolf in a sheep's coat." Another shouted, "This is proof." Her kindness was always too good to be true. The village leader, thinking Alara had lied to them, ordered her to leave the village forever, ignoring her tearful pleas that she was innocent. Ilara, with nothing but the clothes on her back and a heart shattered into many pieces, walked into the wild forest. She walked for days, looking up at the stars to show her the way. Her only friends were the rustling leaves and the calls of the owls. She found comfort in the quiet forest, and her spirit slowly began to heal among the tall trees and clear streams. She built a small shelter, learned to find food, and became friends with a family of deer. Her gentleness extended to every animal, and the forest gave her a peace that the town had cruelly taken from her. Meanwhile, back in the village, things started to go wrong. Without Alara's kind attention, the stray animals became a big problem. The children missed her stories and her soft guidance. The elder's grandmother, whose pies used to bring joy to everyone, found her bakery struggling without Alara's cheerful help. The festival decorations were never as beautiful as before, and the poor children's needs were often forgotten. A quiet sadness settled over the village, a silent emptiness left by Alara's absence. Then a terrible sickness quickly spread through the village, making everyone, young and old, ill. The local healer was overwhelmed, and panic took over. Theron, who had enjoyed his temporary respect, found himself useless and scared. The lucky wooden bird, which was supposed to bring good fortune, was forgotten, its magic seeming to disappear in the face of such widespread suffering. One day, a young boy, burning with fever, softly called out Alara's name, wanting her soothing touch. His mother, very worried, remembered Alara's amazing ability to calm and heal. A tiny seed of doubt about Alara's guilt started to grow in her mind. Other people, seeing the growing disaster, started to question if they had judged her too quickly. They remembered Alara's constant kindness, her selfless actions, and her tearful denials. The truth, buried deep under all the suspicion and envy, slowly began to come out. The village leader, overcome by guilt and fear for his own sick granddaughter, told Theron his doubts. Cornered and knowing his lies were about to be revealed, Theron finally broke down and admitted his evil plan. A huge wave of shame and regret washed over the villagers. They had wrongly accused and driven away an innocent person, a true angel, and now they realized they were paying the price for their unfairness. Filled with remorse and desperate to save their loved ones, a search party quickly set out to find Alara. They searched the forest, calling her name, their voices now full of a new kind of urgency. Days passed, but they found no sign of her. Just as they were about to give up, a small fawn, one of Alara's wild companions, gently nudged an old woman's hand and then led them deep into the heart of the forest. There, resting by a clean, clear spring, they found Alara. The villagers stood in a sad, silent circle, watching Alara by the spring. They saw that she was not thin or weak. She looked calmer and stronger than they had ever seen her. The deer stood close to her, unafraid. The village leader stepped forward first. He was old, and tears ran down his face. "Ilara," he said, his voice shaking, "we have done a terrible thing. We believed a lie and treated you horribly. Your sweet spirit was too bright for our small minds. We are so sorry." Theron confessed everything. Other villagers began to cry and beg her forgiveness. "Please," cried the mother of the sick boy, "the sickness is getting worse. We need your gentle heart. We need your help to heal our children." Ilara looked at their faces. She saw the true regret in their eyes, the fear, and the deep shame. But she also remembered the burning cake, the dirty rags, and the moment they had all shouted at her and sent her away. The pain was still a deep ache in her heart. She took a deep breath. "The forest gave me peace when your village gave me pain," she said softly. "You doubted my goodness when I offered it freely. Why should I trust you now?" The elder fell to his knees. "Because we are weak, and you are strong," he pleaded. "We learned our lesson the hard way. The sickness is a sign of our broken spirit. We need you, not for what you can do for us, but for the truth you bring." Ilara looked at the innocent deer beside her. She had found a true home in the forest, one that didn't judge her. But she also knew that those sick children were suffering, and the elder's pain was real. Her angelic nature could not let that go. Her heart, though bruised, was still made of kindness. "I will come back," Ilara finally said. "Not for the people who hurt me, but for those who need comfort and for the chance that your hearts can truly change." Ilara returned to the village. The first thing she did was not to look for the wooden bird or her old house. She went straight to the sick. She worked day and night, using simple herbs she had learned about in the forest. Her calmness was like a soothing medicine itself. She cooked light food for the weak and sang soft songs to the frightened children. Slowly, the sickness began to lift. The villagers watched her every move. They saw that even though they had betrayed her so many times, her goodness was unbreakable. They had hated her for being too good, but now they saw that her goodness was real and powerful. Theron, the man who had framed her, was not punished by Ilara. Instead, he was made to help clean the animal pens and do the hardest, dirtiest jobs no one else wanted. He worked under the silent, gentle gaze of Ilara, and his shame became a tool for change. Over time, his mean heart softened from doing constant, simple work. The villagers realized that the lucky wooden bird was not what brought good fortune. Ilara's pure spirit was their true blessing. They stopped gossiping about her. They started to look at themselves and try to be better people. They learned to thank her with actions, not just words. They rebuilt her small cottage and filled it with new things, but she rarely spent time there. She preferred to be outdoors, sitting by the river, still reading to the children. Ilara was still the most kind and good girl in the village, but now the people were different. They no longer saw her goodness as a reason for suspicion. They saw it as an example. She had come back from the forest not as a victim, but as a quiet teacher. Her story became a lesson. Unbreakable goodness is stronger than any envy, betrayal, or hate. Ilara lived out her days surrounded by people who had finally learned to value kindness over suspicion. She had been betrayed many times, but in the end, her true, simple good behavior did not just survive, it healed an entire community.